everyone, I'm Kirk and welcome back to The Ultimate Dish. Today, I'm very excited to have a very special returning guest, Kristen Kish, who just happens to be Escoffier's very own chef-in-residence and the host of Bravo's Emmy Award-winning Top Chef. As chef-in-residence, Kristen plays a key role in inspiring our students through exclusive lecture classes, special content, and interactive engagement opportunities. Beyond Escoffier, she's the chef and partner of Arlo Grey in Austin, Texas, the host and producer of Restaurants at the End of the World on National Geographic, Disney Plus, and the creator of KISH Aperitif. A Korean adoptee raised in Michigan, Kristen found her passion for cooking at a young age. After working in various Boston kitchens, she competed in season 10 of Top Chef, ultimately winning the coveted title. Since then, she's published a cookbook, starred in many hit shows like Fast Foodies on TruTV and Iron Chef on Netflix, and in 2023 took over as the host of Top Chef for its 21st season. Both she and the show went on to earn Primetime Emmy nominations for Outstanding Host and Best Reality Competition Series. Kristen's been featured on Time 100's Next List, Adweek's Creative 100, and Marie Claire's Power List. Now she's adding another book to her resume, her first memoir, Accidentally on Purpose, which hits our shelves on April 22nd of this year. Join us as we chat with Kristen about her role as chef-in-residence, a sneak peek into her exciting virtual class she's leading at Escoffier, and a behind-the-scenes look at her highly anticipated memoir. I'm out of breath, but hello. How are you?
I'm great. That's a lot.
That is a lot. That's you. It's all you. It's amazing. It's amazing. I saw you last week.
Yes.
It was amazing to have you on campus for our Young Escoffier competition, which was made that much better because of you. And I mean that sincerely. For you to hop on a plane, fly in from New York for just a few hours, turn around and go back home. I'm so grateful. We're so grateful. How do you know sometimes where you are? Honestly.
Well, I don't. I think the thing, my life usually 90% of the time runs off of my calendar. So I look at it the night before, look at what's happening the next day. But I like to think I'm a regularly organized person. And so even without the calendar, I'm sure I could figure out where I am and where I need to go.
Yeah.
It's the chef part of me, no matter how much my life goes off into different avenues and different categories, my brain is still organized in the same way it is in a kitchen. And I think that's exactly how, I keep things moving.
I love that. Able to adapt, right? The word pivot is probably used too much, but it's really true, right? In the kitchen, gotta adapt. Yeah.
You have to adapt, and you also have to relinquish control a little bit, which I have to do to my calendar and my schedule and allow people.
Oh, relinquish control. I
Yeah,
like that. I
that's
would struggle with that.
but once you do and you realize the things that you give that control to someone else and realize how much greater and how much other space you have within your own self, oh, I wouldn't take it back. Happy to pass it along.
Is it like my kids, the big term these days is it's satisfying. So is it satisfying to relinquish some control?
It depends on what your what
I'm
category
glad
the
you said
control is
that.
in.
Yeah.
Some of them don't feel satisfying. Some of them feel more terrifying. But I will say for the majority of stuff, I have really great people around me. And so being able to give up control to people that could probably and are doing it better than I do, then I'm happy to do so.
That's so well said. So well said. I said this the last time you were on the show, and I'd be remiss if I didn't add it, and hope I don't get in trouble for this because I'm supposed to stick to the script. But on behalf of everyone here at Escoffier, we and me personally just want to congratulate you on Top Chef. And last season was amazing. This season is equally incredible. I'm not going to give anything away to anybody, but I've been watching. Congratulations. You make it look so easy. We all know that it's not. And I don't know how much you can say or can't say, but I know it's hard work. I know it's hard work.
I think the chefs have the hardest job because
Sure.
they live
Sure.
in a world that they don't know what the next challenge is and they don't know what's ahead of them. At
Yeah.
least for me, I can't say it's hard. I think it's personally challenging in a lot of ways, but the
Mhm.
job and task at hand is not difficult. I get to eat great food from amazing chefs and get to have conversations around the food and hear what other opinions and insight others have. And I get to learn along the way and to sit at tables with my peers and those that I've looked up to for a very long time to hear what they have to say and how their brain works. So it's not hard. It's personally challenging in just the sense of this, putting myself out there in a way and hosting. Like that wasn't a natural behavior characteristic, I would say, that I had before I had it.
Well, you're incredibly humble. You make it look easy and fun,
Fun is yes.
which is really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Can you take a moment and just share, if you don't mind, just a few takeaways after chatting with some of the young culinarians last week during our Young Escoffier competition? Maybe some who are considering the industry, but they really had fun at the event, and they had fun with you. Any takeaways that you witnessed?
I what was really great and how I love how this culinary landscape is changing is that there are so many different avenues that culinary students can take. It doesn't mean just going to culinary school to then go into a restaurant and then open up your own cafe or restaurant or business afterwards. When I was talking to all of them, some of them were like, I'm not sure yet. And this is a really great way for me to exercise that muscle and to see if it's something I want to do. Some are like, you know what? I'm just doing this for great fun. What a cool elective this must be to have in high school. And then you have some that are just like itching to like graduate and get into the programs at Escoffier and just like get to work so they can, move on with their career. Um, but I think the takeaway is really that there's not just one path. And I think that's really important for me to hear a lot of times and also to hear from the students. It inspires me and saying, well, they're dreaming big. They're dreaming of anything that's possibly out there. And if it's not out there, they're going to make it happen for themselves and they're going to create that lane. And so being able to hear so many different stories, it's not just, oh, so what are you looking to do after this? And it's not the same answer every single time, which is a relief and inspiration. And I think just a really bright spot in knowing that our industry has taken so many different career avenues and has put that in play for a lot of different people.
Yeah, that's so well said. It's so nice to know that young people have choices today. And one bit of trivia that I mentioned earlier before we got started that I got a photo from one of the coaches who was here 8 years ago, who actually won last Friday. Um, but I don't know if I mentioned it on Friday or not, but she's on our board and she has been doing this for 40 years. And, she didn't slip me any dollars or anything like that. But her team brought it home for her in her final year. And that was the gal that sent me the photo this morning too. So you can see she's still thinking about it.
Yeah.
It really meant a lot to her. And, you know, um, about a year ago, you were on this very hot seat on the on the Ultimate Dish,
I was.
February of last year, right? And we rarely have guests come back. They've had enough of me, right? They never want to come. Yeah, thanks, but no thanks. But we needed to have you back because we needed to talk about you as our chef in residence, which I think is just the coolest thing in the world. And for those who don't know, um, Kristen was our guest speaker at our graduation ceremony here in Boulder back in November. And in many ways, that moment up on stage, you were so elegant. It felt like the beginning of your journey with us as our chef in residence. And I'd love for you to go back to that day through your lens. There were 2,000 people there. It was a big crowd. What was special about that moment for you, looking out, knowing that you were in that position years and years ago, but it was magical in many ways watching you looking out at that crowd. Any thoughts of what was special to you?
I love being able to be part of moments that mark people's new beginning. We're going to have several through our life, hundreds. Like they're just endless. possibilities, on how many new starts and new beginnings you get to have in life. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. There were people when I was looking out there, the culinary graduates who either were career changes and they're, I don't know how old, but then you have the ones that are coming right from high school and they're going into a culinary career. And to be part of something and to be invited into a room, marking a moment that is a new beginning for everybody in that room, like that's like, you kind of take a step back and you really think about it and you're just like, it could, gives you goosebumps and chills
Yes.
because um, I don't know, to be part of someone's life for a very split second. I was up there for maybe like 3 minutes, but like those 3 minutes, I got to be part of their world and their experience. They could take away whatever they took away from me is totally fine, but to be in the room and invited to be part of their journey, I think that is the most special thing. Um,
Yeah, that
there's that one picture where it's from behind me and it's looking out. And
it's what I'm always envisioning.
yeah,
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
got to be part of their day, and that's a true honor and a privilege for me.
Yeah, chills, chills, chills. And as you were just saying that, I was thinking about the families. Many of those graduates are the first to graduate from anything, in their families, and their families are there, and you're helping validate their journey. Your speech was incredibly moving. I think it was a little bit longer than 3 minutes, but
Yeah, I think it was.
I actually pulled one of my favorite quotes from it, and this is beautiful, and I quote: "Your metrics for success should reflect your philosophy, your sense of integrity. At the end of the day, kindness matters as much as the craft." Wow. Compassion is as important as cooking. Social responsibility and engagement in your community are as critical to your career as any social media statistics, awards, or star rating. Honing in on who you are and staying true to that person and lifting others up as you go through life will bring you more satisfaction, joy, and sustained fulfillment than any following or flash in the pan food trend. Wow, unquote. Kindness matters as much as the craft. I just love that. And Kristen, you've achieved much in your career. I'm wondering what it means to you, not just for Escoffier, but for many, for many. What does it mean to step into the role of being that mentor?
Mm. I think it's been a slow build for me to understand that I am that to many people that I've never met in my entire life. Um, I've had great mentors in my life that I worked side by side with, that we lived in the same city. We were kind of like going down the same road. And to now have a position where I I don't know everybody that looks to me for something. I have no idea. I may never meet them. Like that is something that it does not weigh heavily on my shoulders, but it is definitely pressure to make sure that I do my part and my due diligence. Um, and saying the words that I say at commencement for not just the people in the room, but for everywhere else. The responsibility that I have, that I am gifted to have, to impact others like that. It's a position that I never knew that it was going to be for me, but one that I definitely feel great purpose in. And I don't know, if the meaning of life is to encourage and to support and to celebrate those around you, like like I'm actually living what I think a great meaning of life is. And the more I do it for other people, the more it's done for me. And it's just like this interaction and exchange. It's just not me doing for others. I get so much out of people by way of messages from strangers or coming to Escoffier to speak or the Young Escoffier competition, like interacting with the future of our industry and the future of this world is, I mean, that is a meaning of life. That is definitely a box within the things that are important in life.
Really beautiful, really, really beautiful. You recently wrote a blog for Escoffier on defining personal wellness in the food industry. Why is this such an important topic? Not just for you, but for all of us.
I think we all can get lost in what we do and we blur the line a little bit on what we do and who we are. And I found that challenge for a very long time. And I wasn't able to differentiate those two things. And so they kind of melded together. And for so long, it's like, well, cooking is what I do, cooking is who I am. But what ends up happening is the thing that differentiates you from all the other people that cook and that's who they are, or whatever the profession is that the only differentiating factor is who you are. Like what
Mm.
brings you joy, the things that inspire you, your point of view. And so without being able to separate the two, you almost kind of become part of this mashup of I don't want to say you get lost because there's certainly ways of doing it where you definitely stand out in that way. But for me, I got lost in the shuffle a little bit and I wasn't able to actually form who I am and what I wanted to say. And so it's really important to be able to separate those two. And that really does start with a harmony and trying to find the healthful balance between who you are and what you do. They are two very different things that work together to create something even bigger. And I think that's a really important thing to kind of remain in focus and not get lost in the actual job or profession that you have chosen.
I'm so glad you used the word harmony. Isn't that just a gorgeous word? I worked with a pastry chef years and years and years ago, and that's how he sort of described what he was trying to achieve. This balance and harmony. Absolutely love this. Now, we gave away a little of this in the intro, but another big announcement is that you'll be teaching and participating in a two-part virtual class at Escoffier, which many of our students will be excited. All of our students will be excited and active participants. And as we get closer, we'll send out more details so that students can register. And I bring that up now because it's a beautiful segue to accidentally on purpose, a life story worth telling. What a title, right? April 22nd, 2025. Coincidentally, everybody, it's the day that this episode will air. But let me get to you. Let me get to you. Stacy London states she's written a recipe for a life worth living with purpose, curiosity, forgiveness, luck, and of course, what every recipe relies on, love. Jose Andreas mentions Kristen has one of those larger than, I could see him saying it. She has one of those larger than life stories to tell, from her childhood to her journey as a rising chef to being known by every single food person in America. It would be a fairy tale if it wasn't all true. So amazing, so beautiful. What can readers expect when they dive into your memoir?
I've been asked this question a lot, and I will only continue to be asked this question throughout like the release of the book and everything. And if you haven't realized this by now, that I really try to feel the answer that I'm going to give. Like I'm just not going to
Mhm.
give you an answer to give you an answer. And what I hope I don't expect I don't want I relinquish control into the hands of the reader. Um, I don't know what people are going to get out of this. I don't know. And I don't need to know ahead of time. I think that the beauty of a story being told, this book is obviously my stories and very specific details and nuance to experiences that I have lived through. That being said, it is not a singularly unique story in saying that no one else has ever journeyed through or felt the things that I've felt. The beauty of a memoir, I feel, is that regardless of how I got to certain things and how I've come to reach certain decisions and points in my life, that there are universal truths to all of our lives. We love, we feel heartache, we go through challenge, we have moments that really test the boundaries of who we are and where we want to go. All of these things we've had, we know what that feels like. If I tell you, do you know what love feels like, or grief feels like, or challenge feels like, you're going to tell me yes. And I don't know. I don't know if there's a single person out there that would be like, no, I don't know what that feels like. And so when the book reaches whoever's reading it or listening to it, my expectation is that hopefully they just find something in there. And that could be inspiration, that could be hope, that could be a lot of different heavy, like hard-hitting feelings, or it could be something as simple as entertainment. That's okay too. Or they could close the book and feel nothing from it. That's also okay. Like I don't know. And so my hope is that you just take something away from it. That is the expectation in the book, is that hopefully you can walk away with something from it.
That's such a responsible and humble answer. I was going to ask next how you decide which moments in your life to share in the book, but hearing that answer kind of makes me think that you just you relinquished some of that and let it happen, right? I'm going to use that
You know,
term all day today, by the way.
I think it's, I wanted the book to reach not just cooking people or chefs or like, you know, people wanting to just find the arc of how I ended up on television. It's the stories that I feel like are universal are the ones that went in there. It's the ones that really taught me a lesson moving forward. There's purpose in what is in that book. I've gone through with my writer and my editor, and certainly there were chapters and paragraphs and stories that we kind of took a step back and were like, well, sure, it's like a good story. It's like it happened in my life, but is it adding value to the purpose of this story? And like in a lot of cases, sometimes it was no. Like that might just be a one-off story I tell out on the book tour or something, or like something prompts it. But there were a lot of things that just didn't make the book. Obviously, it's 360 something pages. If I could fit my entire life, my 41 years and 360 something pages, I would encourage myself to try to go out and do a little bit more. But obviously we had to make it a story, something that people could follow along on and feel what was being written in there.
I love it. I love it. Mine's ordered. And, I don't know if you noticed my background's a little different now, so I'm going to embarrass you. So set it up a little bit different. There's your first book right there.
Awesome.
And, so I've got Marco Pierre White up there. And then I have a few albums. I've got Crash because my wife, Gretchen, loves Dave Matthews.
Oh,
I've got U2. I've got Bob Seger. I've got Hotel California. This is my wall of rock stars because when the last time we talked a little bit about how chefs in many ways love music and they love motorcycles and moving fast. And so I just want you to know that you're on the
well,
rock
thank you.
star background. I love it. It's a beautiful story to tell. And we also know that Kristen, you love to stay busy. Between writing your memoir and your first book, hosting Top Chef, working with us and working with others, you have a full plate. Um, what else is there? Can you give us any sneak peeks of what's in the pipeline? And I didn't mention that I went to Arlo Grey about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It
Yeah.
was amazing. They
Okay,
they
good.
they were so great. The food was amazing. It just kept coming.
I know.
Everyone from the kitchen came out.
Yeah.
It's like we know somebody. But I just want you to know that they were on point. It was
Good.
amazing. The
Okay.
wine was beautiful too.
Well,
So
good. Yeah.
yeah.
I think that there's a fine line. I stay busy. I can't say I've learned what it feels like to stay busy to avoid things, and I've learned what it means that I am busy because of really great things that add value to my life. And so I made that transition probably in 2020. I really learned what it meant to like stop, like the brakes screeching halt, and then I started to reassess. Um, and so my life is full. Like I'm very, very grateful to have a very full life professionally and personally. Um, but I will say I have slowed it down and I've found the excitement almost in the steadiness of it all. So I'm busy and it's steady, but with like really great things that I find add great purpose and value to my life. And so what's next? Yeah. Um, as if, I don't know, let's just try to fit it in there. Let's try to open another restaurant because that sounds great.
Yay.
Like, we're hoping for 2025 TBD, as we know how restaurants go and
Yeah,
timing.
sure, sure.
But
Yeah.
we are deep into the planning stages, so
Oh, that's
that's
great.
happening. And I
Wow.
will say I do have to shout out like all the support and the people in my life, because obviously I can't do this all by myself. And so I'm able to stay busy and do the things because I have a lot of great people to work with. So that help keep things moving. So we're going to focus on the restaurant. Of course, there's another filming of Top Chef this year that will start again in the summertime. So we'll just get that one going. And the book is like a really big focus for this year of making sure that goes out. We do everything we can to make sure that it's promoted.
So exciting, so exciting. We spend a lot of time helping our students understand front of the house, back of the house. We have a lot of business focus in certain parts of our curriculum. If I mean, I look at your body of work and your life, and the word entrepreneur pops up. It's just like in many ways you're an entrepreneur. If you had to give one tip to students, and I say this all the time, what they don't see is the work. They don't see
Yeah.
the body of work leading up to, us having this conversation. And I think I know what you're going to say, but what's that one tip for that young person who sees you and is inspired and wants to follow a similar journey? What should they keep in mind?
That the way I did it is not the way that you need to do it.
I knew you were going to say
There's patience,
that.
there's a lot of patience and grace that you have to give yourself, because I certainly wasn't on a linear path, and I'm still not on a linear path. Every opportunity and experience that I choose for myself or otherwise is presented to me, there's something to learn within each of these like stepping stones. It's like, think of like, when you have I don't know, one step leads to the next, leads to the next, but you don't know what's going to happen and all the arms that are going to come off of that next step. And you might feel like, and it's the same way. And I say this because I was this way when I was younger. I looked at like the executive chef up in like that really great restaurant, and I was like, oh my God, how do I get there? Like, how do I do that? And I was trying to find a fast track to get me that title, that job, and like get me in that space. And what ended up happening is that I was so hyper focused on that one point at the top of the mountain that all the other stuff between where I was and where that person was, all that other stuff, I missed completely. Like, I don't know how they got up there. I don't know how you earn something like that. And I don't know the lessons that were learned from point A to point Z. And so my point or my one true piece of advice is patience, not only with the process, but with yourself.
Perfect. I have to write that down because I'm going to take that lesson myself. Instagram, and you know what? I follow you. I've followed you for a long time. I've never really paid attention, but it's at Kristen L Kish L, right?
Yes.
Perfect, perfect. So I'm going to send all of our students there and all of our listeners there. But before I let you sneak away, I've asked once before, some time has passed. Chef, what is the ultimate dish?
I think I'm gonna still say I'm pretty sure I remember what I said last time, but I'm gonna give you a different answer this time.
Yay.
One that I'm craving right now in this moment. And sometimes the ultimate dish is what you want right now in this moment. And for me, a, a griddled, like pressed meatloaf sandwich.
You did
I
not say
love
that last time, but I love that
I
answer.
said chicken fingers last time, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah, yeah. Right now, I could really use a meatloaf sandwich with extra ketchup, mayonnaise, pickles, diced red white onion on a rye toasted bread.
And there you go. We've never had that one before. Are you going to have that today? Are you going to have that today? You're going to find it.
Kirk, the only thing that would throw a wrench in that work is that I don't make meatloaf. And I refuse to make meatloaf because my mother's is the best. And I've once tried before and it was never the same. And I refuse. So I'll have to wait till she makes me meatloaf.
That's respect. That's respect for the craft right there. Kristen Kish, thank you. Thank you. Congratulations on all the success. Can't wait to see you again. We'll be watching. Thanks for being our friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Ultimate Dish Podcast, brought to you by Auguste Escoffier School of Culinary Arts. Visit escoffier.edu/podcast to find any materials mentioned during the podcast, including notes, links, and other resources. And if you can, please leave us a rating on Apple or Spotify and subscribe to support our show. This helps us reach more aspiring individuals ready to take the next step toward their dream careers. Thanks for listening.